in the middle of the summer in 1989, right there at 420 Crestline, we were snug in our beds in the middle of the night, and our window was open, and I came wide awake smelling that familiar smell of fresh burning grass. So I got up quickly got dressed, grabbed a shovel, and came out my front door there, and could see over in this area. This is Morley's Canyon, by the way. The neighborhood calls this Morley's Canyon because Morley Nelson had some bird work that he did there, and he lived on the other side. Saw that over in Morley's Canyon there was smoke coming up, so I ran over here onto this bench, which we call Murdoch's bench, and just then the fire truck was coming up the street. There was a fire coming up this draw here, just past where that bird box is, and it had already come about 2/3 the way up. So I ran out there and worked on the fire with my shovel on this near edge of it and kind of knocked it down. And I was thinking at the time, boy, I'm glad there's no wind going on here. Last night, I was awakened again by that wind. Did you feel that wind last night? And we've had big winds that, I don't know, seem bigger than they used to be, but we think global warming may be part of that. But in any event, wind is definitely your enemy in these fire situations. But that night, there was not a wind to speak of, and I was able to kind of get ahead of it a little bit, but by the time I finished my work there, the main part of the fire had reached the railroad tie retaining wall at the bottom of the Hills house, which is now Tom and Sally Halbach's house. And we can't see it from here. If you were to walk out around this promontory, you could see it. There's no need really, but this near corner of it was in flame. And I was afraid that it was going to catch the tall grass just up from that and then get up into some shrubbery near the house, including some Fitz or juniper, which is probably the worst. Like this stuff right behind Elaine, right there. This stuff here, this stuff, really bad. So I fought that fire there just for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and then the fireman came down with a hose and we were able to get it out. So that was 1989.
What month of the year was it?
I don't recall exactly, but I think it was probably August. It was quite warm. Well, yeah, any time in the summer it can happen, but certainly in the late July through mid-September is the real red zone. And as I was coming back out here to meet with the firemen another truck came up here, Lael Wood appeared on her deck out here in her nightgown. She says, "Jeff, what do I do?" I said, "Get dressed." So that's one fire in Morley's Canyon, 1989. Could have been really bad. It was stopped.
How did it start?
How did the fire start? Like every fire starts in the foothills, I submit, because of somebody doing something arsonist or careless. I know of no lightning caused fires in the foothills. Yes, they've happened, but I've never seen one. And every fire that we know about was human caused.
Or mechanical.
Well, same thing. It's a human agency that causes this fire to start. There was another fire that we heard about just yesterday from Sean Hare, who lives way out at the end of Promontory. He grew up there, and in the 60s, we reckon, he said he fought a fire until he had to retreat from it that was in the upper part of Morley's Canyon over there almost to the end, right about where you see that person on the deck.
The next house.
It was the house after that was the fire was approaching, and he was spraying one of these Fitz or junipers with a hose, and he was doing that watching this fire getting closer. And once the fire hit that juniper, despite all the water, the thing simply exploded in flame. And at that point, he dropped the hose and ran. And the firemen eventually got the fire out, but it did do some damage to that house. So that's Morley's Canyon, 1960s, 1989. And undoubtedly, there have been more in Morley's Canyon. And we hope that there won't be more.
Jeff, where did the fire truck actually go?
It went to the hills front
Okay.
street, on Promontory, and ran a hose down the hill. They were doing the right thing from their point of view, which was to take a stand at the house and to defend that house. And
What time
so,
in the evening?
sorry,
What time in the evening did it start?
2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
I'll
It had to
say.
be arson then. Who else
No,
would?
well, there's views about that.
Well, you know, if some kids were down there and those cops is down there smoking, you know, at 9:30 at night, 10, they drop a cigarette butt. It may take till 2 a.m. for anything to happen. Maybe nothing will happen, but it's very common to have the ignition of a fire be very slow for a number of hours before things finally happen, and then it springs to life. So, yes.
Jeff, for folks who are new to the neighborhood, maybe a little background about your own firefighting experiences, Jermaine.
Oh, well, I used to fight forest fires. I was a hot shot, and then I was a smoke jumper for 6 years. So, back in the day. But in 1989, it hadn't been that it had only been about 12 years since I had last fought a forest fire, so it seemed like second nature at the time. But it's not easy, and sometimes, you know, it's best just to retreat and call. Well, obviously, you always call 911. You always call the fire department, right? I didn't, because why? I don't know.
I lifted a shovel on that fire too down there.
Yeah, Kay came across a little later and helped down here. So, and by the way, Span and Lael Wood, who live here, obviously have a pool. They have a gas-powered pump that'll shoot a lot of water. And anybody in this neighborhood with a pool should seriously consider doing that, because that could be the difference.
Because that would be great if it was posted through the neighborhood association.
It's on this handout.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. You already thought of it, great.
Yeah, and by the way, and this is something we haven't really worked out, but there ought to be a whole cadre of people who know how to run Span Wood's pump, right?
Oh, it just is out there.
And you should, you know, run down there, fire it up, and start doing the thing, you know, regardless of whether the woods are asleep or away or what. So,
Well, and is it standard too, when we built our house in '96, we put in a specific types of sprinklers so that we could hit our entire house with our sprinklers?
From
I
the
don't know if
outside?
that's, yeah.
Let's save some of this to the end too.
yeah, we can save some of this to the end.
Yeah.
Right now, we're on anecdotes. Are there any more questions about Morley's Canyon fires?
All right, then let's move across the street. Follow me and